Hi, my name's Larry Laffer. Not really. My name is Tawmis, and I've been a long time fan of Sierra. I was first introduced to Sierra back when King's Quest 1 was on a floppy disk, and it only had 4 colors, and it actually boot from the floppy disk. I was introduced to Sierra Online back then by my friend Sean Quorum and his father, Mike Quorum. His father was like the only person I really knew back then that actually had like a full-on computer system. So he had introduced me to King's Quest, and I thought, this game's pretty incredible. Like, you were controlling a character that moved around objects and could pick up things and use things. The other games I'd played previous to that were all pretty much just text adventure games. So you'd have a thing, you are standing in a jungle, there's a door, there's a path to the east, there's a path to the west, which way do you go? And you press W and it goes, you go deeper into the jungle. There's a path to the west, a path to the east. West. You are now inside the jungle and see a temple. It was those kind of games that I was playing. There were some computer games that I was playing, but the graphics that were on those games were pretty much static. So you'd have like a picture above, and you'd have text as to what was happening. The picture might have just like a little picture of like a little wave moving, but that was pretty much the extent of it. So when King's Quest came along, you basically had almost the entire screen to move around and do whatever you wanted to, with only just the bottom portion that was not actually animated, because that's where you typed. So with the introduction into King's Quest, almost immediately my obsession became, I want to work at Sierra. That was my end goal, was to one day work at Sierra Online. I ended up playing another version of King's Quest 1, the one that had actually like 16 colors. It was an upgrade from the 4-color version. And then I'd played Leisure Suit Larry 1. Now even back then, I had a fairly tainted, dirty mind. Leisure Suit Larry was the perfect game for me. It had enough suggestions as to what was happening. It was always insulting, Larry Laffer. And that was something that appealed to me, because a lot of times I was that guy that it was like, hey, how you doing, babe? And then get shut down, because I had absolutely no game. So there was a lot in common between Larry and I. So Leisure Suit Larry just became a game that I became extremely attached to. Then, of course, there was Police Quest, the Gabriel Knight series, Quest for Glory. All these other games came out from Sierra, and I was obsessed. From back then, I would basically get the games, take them out of the package to play them. But then I would preserve the boxes as much as I could, because I was so infatuated. I was already a comic book collector by this time. So pretty much I treated my Sierra games pretty much like collectible things. I would, take them out of the game, put them in, put them back up there, and put them in the shelf, shine them, make sure they're all super nice. So that comic book collecting mentality carried over into the Sierra games. The other games I got, I actually didn't do this with. Like, I got Agent Art of War, a couple of the Indiana Jones games, Monkey Island, and none of these games I actually took as good care of as I did with my Sierra games, because as I said, what I wanted to do was one day work at Sierra. Now, I said earlier, Larry and I were a lot closer than I care to admit, and here's why. During one of the there used to be a Sierra Interaction magazine that came out. It was Sierra Interaction, and then before that it was something else. But anyway, I had written in there all the time. I had gotten to know Bridget McKenna. She probably doesn't remember. She probably wrote to hundreds and hundreds of people all the time. But I would send stuff in all the time. Just like little comic strips that I'd come up with that had to do with Sierra. And they would publish some of these things into the magazines. Now, when it came to the comic strips, apparently I didn't have the humor, because I don't think, in all the years that I was doing that, I don't think a single one of them ever got printed. But one day, I thought, I'm going to come up with this really silly idea, because I'm obsessed with Leisure Suit Larry. I'm going to dress up as Larry Laffer, basically I'm going to draw basically like a screen from a game, put it on the front of my computer, and like lean against it like I'm Larry. So I'd sent this photo in, and not thinking anything of it. If it got published in the magazine, awesome. If not, whatever. I didn't mind. I was infatuated with Sierra, so it didn't matter. What ended up happening is they wrote me a letter back, and they said, hey, you know what? This photo makes us want to do a Leisure Suit Larry contest. We're going to ask people to dress up as Larry Laffer and send their photos in, and we want to use your photo as part of that contest to basically start the contest. Naturally, I agreed. I was like, of course, do that. I can't wait. So what they had done is they had taken my picture, put it into the Leisure Suit Larry 1 VGA, next to one of the beautiful ladies of Leisure Suit Larry 1 and VGA, and used it for the contest. And this is that picture. So as you can see, me and Larry are kind of close. Leisure Suit Larry is a part of me. So that obsession continued. I continued to be obsessed with Larry. It was my favorite game. Leisure Suit Larry 2 is probably still my all-time favorite Sierra game. Even the cover is the favorite cover of any Sierra game. So as that obsession continued, I continued to get all the Sierra games on and on and on. So I have a massive library of Sierra games. There are some that somehow along the moves I had misplaced or lost. Not from the main series stuff, because those were always like in a box, but some of the one-offs, like the Black Cauldron. I used to own that. I bought it the day it came out. And somewhere along one of the moves, it gone. But anyway, before the internet was born, I used to go on the Sierra BBS. I had a BBS of my own back then, which is a bulletin board system, which a bunch of you young people probably have no idea what it is. But back then we used to have a thing inside of a computer called a modem. That modem would use your phone line to dial out and connect to another computer. It's kind of like the internet, but you're only connected to a single computer versus the World Wide Web. So back then I used to connect. Oh, and the big thing about the modem is, imagine this, you're on your phone through the modem, and your mom picks up the phone, uses it, and suddenly it goes, and you lose your connection. So there you are on a bulletin board typing out this long message, and suddenly you hear, and your connection drops, and you lose everything. And you're like, Mom! Anyway, so moving forward a little bit past that, when the internet was born, Sierra created Sierra.com, and they had a forum on there. I immediately went to the forum, and back then I went under the super long name of Vaprak Grumish. Vaprak is a reference to trolls in D&D, and Grumish is a reference to orcs in D&D, and I took those two and kind of combined them together. Eventually I'd shorten it much later to just what I always use now, which is Tawmis, which is Tawmis. That's me. On that forum I got to meet a lot of people. There were some people that I just met, and they're just friends on a forum, whatever. But there's some people that you get to actually really get to know, and you get a really good impression off of them. So when Sierra basically announced that they're closing down their forums and they've sold off to Activision, they've sold this off over there, I created my own forum off my own website, which is on Tawmis.com. And I found the people that I actually enjoyed talking to, and I got people from like the Sierra forums, Red versus Blue forums, all these other different forums, and basically said, hey, you are all people that I've really enjoyed interacting with. I've made a forum that we can all just hang out on, so we don't have to be scattered all over the place. And it was really cool because it worked out, because there was no theme to this forum. It was just basically, come here, hang out, share what you like, talk about whatever. And all these other people that I'd gotten to know from all these different forums got to basically mingle together, and they all got to know each other. And there were a few of those people on my forum that came from the other forums that I really got to know. And one of them, for example, was Julie, or Jules, is what she always goes by. I had the good fortune, because of my obsession with Gabriel Knight as well, I'd always wanted to go to New Orleans. I was interested in voodoo and stuff like that. And that's where Jules used to live. She didn't live in New Orleans, but she was close enough to it. So I had contacted her and said, hey, we're going out to New Orleans. Do you want to meet up? We can all like hang out and stuff like that. And so because of that, through Sierra, I got to meet Jules. And here's some of those photos. So as you can see, we had a really good time. It was amazing getting to meet someone like Jules, who I already thought was super cool on the forum, and then to meet her in person, it was remarkable. So anyway, eventually forums start dying away because social media is now the big thing. There's now Facebook and Twitter and all these other social medias that are pulling people out of forums and pulling them to social media. So my forum that I had made eventually kind of become defunct because everyone was like, hey, we can just all meet on Facebook. So I was gonna close down my forums, and then Collector, who his name, I won't say his name in case he doesn't want to know, but Collector, who had been making installers for Sierra games to work on modern machines, had contacted me and said, hey, is it cool if we set up kind of like a Sierra help pages off of your site? And I was more than happy to do that because I'm obsessed with Sierra. So on my site, I had made a portion of it and sectioned it off for Collector, and he put his installers on there and kind of made a small little microsite on there. Very quickly, that became extremely popular. It was good to know that people were still interested in Sierra games and getting them to play on modern machines. So basically, Collector took that and made his own site, which is sierrahelp.com. If you go there, it's awesome. He's done incredible stuff. He also has a forum there. And he was kind enough to make me administrator on the forum just because I was there to help him set up the site, I'm assuming. Or he knows that I'm such a chatterbox on a forum that I am good for a forum. So now I'm there helping Collector get the forum going, get that rolling and stuff like that. And he's doing all the actual hard work with doing the installers, maintaining the site, and all that stuff for Sierra Help. I'm just keeping the forum rolling. That's all I do. So when Sierra had shut down their forums, he had, like I said, he made sierrahelp.com, and a bunch of us branched out and made different websites. There was one for Police Quest. There was already one existing for Gabriel Knight. There was already one for Quest for Glory. There was already one for King's Quest. And I'm trying to think of some other ones. Well, what ended up happening, naturally, there wasn't one that I could find for Leash Suit Larry. So I made Larry Laffer Dot Net. It sort of looks like this. Hey, Larry. So I made Larry Laffer Dot Net, and basically my obsession with Leash Suit Larry only seemed to grow further. I had found Al Lowe through his website, allow.com. Go check it out. And I'd hit him up and said, hey, look at my site. Is this cool with you? I don't want to step on any toes. Al Lowe loved it. He was like, hey, this is great. I love what you've done here, da-da-da-da. He was super nice about what he saw on the forum. He had his site up, which is, you'll already know because that's where this video is on. And the next thing was when I was also doing a series called Never Ending Nights. NEVERENDINGNIGHTS.com. So in this series, it was originally supposed to be planned for 7 series. It's a machinima series where you take a game and turn it into a video. You control all the characters, you make your own story basically through a game. And we were using the game Neverwinter Nights to make Never Ending Nights. And it was supposed to go 7 seasons, but Adam and I kind of like drifted apart. We weren't writing as quickly as we were, so I said, you know what? I wrote the entire 2nd season on my own. I'm going to go ahead and finish this up and just make it a 3rd season. I'm going to take some of the stuff that was supposed to be in the other episodes and crunch it down and make it into a 3rd season. As I'm writing the 3rd season, I thought, I want to see if I can get some other people to help me with some of the voices. So one of the people I'd reached out to was Greg Johnson, who did a game called Toe Jam and Earl. If you've not checked it out, you really, really should. They recently just did a Kickstarter that was successfully funded. Game's almost done. I'm eagerly waiting for Toe Jam Earl back in the groove. But to keep it on track, one of the other people I reached out to was Al Lowe. And I asked Al, I said, hey, you know what? It's me, I do the Leash Suit Larry site, big fan, blah, blah, blah. What I would love to know is, if you have time, would you want to do a line or 2, or maybe more, if you're up for it, in my series? I'm closing it up for a 3rd season, gonna call it quits. And Al Lowe is more than happy. So I basically created a character in Neverwinter Nights that looks as close as I could to Leash Suit Larry within the limitations of the game. So Al Lowe basically voices Larry Laffer, in a way, in the game. In the series, his character gives tips to Adam's character as to why all the chicks dig my character and why he has like no mojo and stuff. So it was really fun to have Al Lowe be a part of that. I was so obsessed with Sierra. My friend Sean, who had introduced me in 2 Sierra games, he and I decided we would try to come up with a game and see if we could get Sierra to get interested in it. We were like 16, 17, a little on the naive side. We, without doing too much research and not realizing what had been done, we created a game called BC Quest, which stood for Before Civilization Quest. It basically deals with a caveman whose name is Doug. And he basically goes through all these things. He's in this basically like Antarctica, whatever, and doesn't realize that where he is, time has actually moved on. So when he finally gets out and goes and discovers the world, he discovers that where he has lived all his life in this primitive state of dinosaurs and saber-toothed tigers and things like that doesn't exist beyond this big sphere of where he had lived, that the world is actually a modern world beyond that. So we had developed this game, the screens, the puzzles, we had it all laid out. The only thing we did not have is the game programmed. We didn't have that kind of program to create the games like that. I had written it as a text adventure game and put it onto a disc. Here's some pictures of our promotional pieces that we sent to Sierra. My obsession also led to me, my father and my mother, and my dog, who was named Shamu at the time, driving up to Sierra, and I applied for a job at Sierra. My hope was to get into their customer service and basically work my way up from the customer service into developing and writing games, because that's in the end what I wanted to do. After doing an interview with Sierra, it went very well. We ended up, my family ended up staying up there doing a vacation in Oakhurst and stuff like that, seeing the redwoods and all that stuff. And when we got home, it was like a week later, they called and offered me a job. So my dad sat me down and said, hey, you know what? I will pay for you to go out there to live your life and work at a customer service company that I know you want to work at. Or I will pay for you to go to college and finish college. In the end, I ended up choosing to go through college. I thought that would give me a better chance of, because what I did is I took programming classes in college. Back then it was like Basic, Pascal, COBOL, and the beginnings of C+. And I thought, I'll take that and go to Sierra with that knowledge versus just going in straight as a customer service person with no programming skills other than Basic. So I ended up going to college, and long story short, that didn't really work out either for me. But the idea was there, and I'd hoped to work at Sierra, but those dreams were eventually shattered when Chainsaw Monday came along, and Sierra folded, basically sold off to Activision, and all that other stuff. Through the Sierra obsession, I've been fortunate enough to meet a bunch of great people. It started with forums. Well, it started with games, then to forums, then to my personal forum, then to Facebook. I've met so many great people, and I'm so thankful for the opportunity to be able to meet all these people and find people who have the same obsession that I did about Sierra games, to know that I'm not maybe a little crazy obsessive, because these are not games that I would have thought back then that would go up in value. And ironically, some of them have, because they're rare now to find these games in the boxes with all the books, all the little extras that Sierra used to put in these games. So one of the great things is, like I said, meeting all these people, getting an opportunity to know that there are others out there who enjoy it. On the Sierra Help forums, I'm very active on there. You should go on there if you're watching this and you're not registered on the Sierra Help forums. Something's wrong with you, because we have a good time on that forum. We talk about Sierra games. We have a miscellaneous chatter where we just talk about anything. And we do some fun things, like we do a masquerade every Halloween, where you basically email me a account that you want to be it's like a fake account basically, and you're limited to one section of the forum, and we call it the Mask, and it's MASQ, like masquerade, but then I call it Mask of Eternity, like the King's Quest 8 game, which I still refuse to actually call King's Quest. So we have that event that we do every Halloween called Mask of Eternity. We do a bunch of fun stuff. We have a couple of games on there where we post just like a little portion of a screenshot, and you have to try to guess where that screenshot is from, and when you're right, you get to post like a portion of a screenshot and keep the game going. And we have it for each section, and we also have a very general one that you can do. So I recommend coming to the Sierra Help pages. Another thing that I did in terms of Sierra, and this is back when I was doing Never Ending Nights, I wanted to see if you could actually make a machinima series using Sierra game. So without really writing anything out, I kind of improv'd this whole, I guess you'd call it 3-episode thing called, it's basically a Space Quest machinima. I took scenes from different parts of the game, and when you'd move from one screen to another, it would look like a normal transition. But he would actually be going from a scene in Space Quest 1 to maybe a scene in Space Quest 2 to make it all work out, and came up with this super silly story. I only did 3 episodes because I just wanted to test it, and so that was a lot of fun to do. And then for the Space Venture Kickstarter, what I did I was a part of a small team that were out there to try to help promote the Space Venture Kickstarter. And so what I did is along the same lines, I took various scenes from Space Quest games and tied it in, and I basically color changed Valhall. The guys for the Space Quests are going to make fun of me because I could never pronounce Valhall's name. Vuhal? I don't even remember. I don't even know how to pronounce it. I was one of the reasons that game didn't get the audio thing, because I could not get those lines down. And so I recolored Valhall, and I basically made him a different character, but still the same character. One of the Sierra fans named Alan, he got a hold of me and was like, hey, these are really cool. So I gave him a couple lines in one of them. I even imported one of the videos that the 2 guys from Andromeda had done for their Kickstarter, where they're like pretending to punch each other and stuff like that. And I imported that into one of the episodes. I can show that here.
20 years. You know this is going to be good. Get your tissues ready. This is going to be a very tender moment with lots of I love you, I miss you, and that whole nonsense. What's that? Oh, good. I just got word that Scott just entered the spacecraft where Mark is patiently waiting. Let's cut away to this scene.
What's the deal?
Hey, what are you guys doing? Stop fighting! Well, boys and girls, it looks like my interview with Mark and Scott is going to have to wait.
Well, I'm glad we got that out of the way.
Yeah. Well, let's go make a game.
Okay, let's go.
So there was that as well. So I have been knee-deep in the Sierra community since like 1981. And I've enjoyed the whole trip. And it's been an incredible time. And I'm hoping it doesn't end. Like, even though we don't have new Sierra games really coming out, we have a community that's extremely strong and extremely passionate. Obvious, Rudy's one of those, and that's why we're doing this video. Andrew's one of those because he has a site. I'm obviously obsessed because I have the Larry Laffer site, and we have those other sites out there. And all of us are on a Facebook page that has a bunch of Sierra people on it. So I just want to say, love Sierra. And I love the fact that Rudy has asked me to do a video for this. I hope you've enjoyed my rambling, and hope to see you on the Sierra Help forums. See you then. Oh, save early, save often.